morning, everybody. My name is Nancy Oakley, and I am your Education and Events Manager here at Citrus Valley Association of Realtors. Thank you so much for joining us and being here today. I'm Amanda Belin with New American Funding, and she is our instructor for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. Amanda, I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic and turn my video off, and the show is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm excited to be here today. I know that you guys are out there and you guys are hustling, trying to get these listings. So my goal today is just to give you guys a little bit of advice on how you guys can win these listing presentations so that hopefully we can get all of these amazing buyers who are flooding the market into houses. All right. Nancy, can you just confirm for me that you're able to see my screen? I just want to verify that.
Yep, I got it.
Perfect. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into it. My video, and I believe the little boxes go away. Awesome. You know what? I think these are all going to populate on the bottom. All right, so in today's class, we're going to be going over how clients can basically, or how you can prepare. Oh, sorry, lost my train of thought for a second. So today we're going to be talking about how to win a listing presentation. And there are so many different things that you can do in a listing presentation, but first we got to start off with how to prepare for this appointment. Once we've gotten planned for our appointment, we need to figure out how to sell ourselves. The key is to go into this with complete confidence, knowing that you've done your due diligence, that you are the person for the job, and that will really show through so that you land this listing appointment. We're also going to outline a marketing strategy. They need to understand what you're going to do to list their house, to get it on the market, to get buyers attracted to it. So you need to outline that strategy, and going over what you can do and what options for marketing is really going to help you identify what your way of strategy is going to be. Then we're going to be going over comps, pricing, and the pitfalls of overpricing. I can't tell you how many houses get overpriced, and agents nowadays just really don't understand how to do a comparative market analysis. That's going to be distracting. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to keep that. Maybe Nancy, if I could take away the, let's see. Well, I think we're going to have to just deal with it because I don't think we can stop those from popping up. Okay, then we're going to go over how to justify your commission. Now, that's probably one of the hardest conversations that you have in that listing appointment, and being able to justify why they should pay you what they should be paying you will really help strengthen your listing presentation. Once that's all said and done, we want to set proper expectations. Setting proper expectations prepares clients for worst case scenario. Not every transaction that you go through is going to be pretty. And if you keep thinking that it will be, you're going to be having a lot of rude awakenings. I always say to agents that in order to be a successful agent in real estate, you need to learn how to be a problem solver. It is the key to you being successful. If you're not a problem solver, then you will not survive in real estate, because no transaction is the same. Every transaction is different. Sometimes you get faced with hurdles that you never have seen before, and really just learning how to get through these is really your key to being successful. So setting up proper expectations is a great thing to do with your clients, because even if things do get ugly, if you set them up for worst case scenario, they're prepared for worst case scenario, and they can understand that you know how to problem solve in situations. And that just justifies, once again, why they should work with you versus another agent. Also, we're going to end out the class on handling objections. Objections are just something we face in any type of transaction, especially when you're in a sales position. So you just have to understand different ways of how to get through these objections so that you can basically get hopefully all of their questions answered, their concerns answered, and be able to justify why you're the person for the job. All right. So I think the key to winning listing presentations really comes down to three different things. So first and foremost is identifying their motivation. Now, if you can hear out a client's goals or timeframes, what they're expecting out of the outcome, that will really help you identify if somebody's being realistic or somebody is a little too far in the clouds, and maybe we need to do a little bit of an adjustment with their reality and what is going on in the market. so that you can make sure that you guys are on the same page so that they're wanting to work with you, even if it's not meeting what their expectations are, but you're setting the expectations based off of what's going on truly in the market and where they're really at. So after we've identified their motivation, which is their goals and timeframes and expectations, the next piece is analyzing the numbers. Now, the reason that I am teaching this class today is because I have sat in on dozens and dozens of listing presentations, and I've seen my realtors fail. I've seen what they've done wrong. And for me, you know, these are conversations we can have after a consultation, but I've seen them lose these listing presentations when if they would have went with a different direction, they could have been able to. I've also seen them win listing presentations like complete bosses. And a lot of the things that you'll be hearing in today's classes are from some of my top agents where I sat in on their listing presentations and holy moly, they smacked it out of the water. I've seen them just completely drop the mic at the end of their presentation and like, yeah, let's list this, you know? So that's what we're working towards. And I want agents to know that whether you're a new agent or an old agent, really, it does not matter. As long as you're going into this and you're crushing on all three of these, you're going to be able to land these listing presentations. So another key part is the numbers. So when it comes to the numbers, something that's very important is the pre-qualification. And this is why I like going to listing presentations when my agents ask me to, because I like to do the pre-qualification numbers right there in that consultation. Usually takes me about 30, 45 minutes to get through a full file, but in the meantime, my agents are able to do their part, do what they're needing to do to get the listing. And in that meantime, I'm identifying what the new client goals are, figuring out if it meets their payment goals of where they want. Now, majority of the time, clients are going to be purchasing a new home after they list it. Very rare do you get clients that are going to be going into a renting situation, but if it does, then you know those won't apply. More so for the clients that are going into a new purchase, it needs to make sense for their budget. And most of the time, in my experience, they want to have a payment that's very close to what they're paying now, so that they're staying within the comfortability of where they've been at. Now, that's not the same for every situation. It could be that they're okay with going higher, but until we get through the pre-qualification and analyzing true numbers, a lot of what you're going to be doing in a leads and presentation doesn't matter, because they need to make sure that they're going to be in a comfortable payment and that they're meeting the goals for their family, or everything else is off the table. Okay, so we really want to make sure we're honing in on that pre-qualification. We're getting those true numbers for those clients that they're able to make an educated decision. Once we've shifted gears, we want to work on the market analysis. The market analysis is going to identify how this house is doing in the market. We are going to see what the competition looks like and really determine what a true list price for the home will be. We also want to make sure that we're going over the dangers of pitfalls of overpricing, because that plays a huge factor into you being able to get that house sold and quickly on the market. After all that is said and done, you need to discuss commissions. Commissions is obviously a very sour conversation that most people try and avoid having, but if you're upfront and you demonstrate value for a client, then they're going to understand why you're charging the commission that you're charging. Once you've done all of that, hopefully you've done a really good job of outlining what the goals are, of what we need to get to, and you've done your due diligence with the market analysis, and you've built enough value, and they've built the trust for you because you showed them that you don't mess around. You know what you're talking about. You don't do this if, ands, or buts. You want to give them concrete information. And hopefully after all of that is said and done, you've landed that listing presentation, you've gotten it on the market, and you're able to successfully get them through an escrow. So that's the ideal. That's the goals that we're working towards. And hopefully today's class will outline how you can get there a little bit better. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with how to prepare for an appointment. So going into this appointment, there should be a call, or where if you're able to meet with them in person, depending on how you're prospecting with the client. These are some key questions that you need to get asked so that you can make sure that you're figuring out goals up front. So questions you can ask are, why are you selling, right? Identify that up front. What's going on? Did they outgrow the house? Do they need to move for work? Are they on a time frame? Is there a time crunch? How many people are going to be involved in this? And when we're asking if there's going to be other people involved, we're really asking if there's any other decision makers. I'm so sorry. That's my Alexa box. She yells at me and my kiddos all day for us to do our distant learning. Bear with me because she may be going off throughout this class. All right, so we really want to identify decision makers in this. Decision makers are spouses, any other person who's on title, who could be tied to the house. Now, we want to make sure that we're not only sharing this information with the person who we're having as our point of contact, but with any other decision makers, because sometimes that's a make or break deal as well. Because if you're hoping that the person that you're speaking to is going to relay all of the important information that you gave over to the person, the really gist of it is they're only going to give them the basics. They're not going to give them the nitty gritty. They're not going to go down into detail, which therefore doesn't create as much value. So you want to get them to be all on the same page. You want to have them all in the same consultation if possible. If not, then you need to make sure that you at least ask for contact with that person, because you understand that they're a decision maker and you want to make sure that they are getting every piece of the puzzle as well. And that will really go a long ways, because some people who maybe not the person that your point of contact are going to really be appreciative that you made the effort to make in contact with them, because, you know, once again, we want to include every person who's able to make a decision, because without that, it could mean that we don't land our listing. Then we want to move into how much do you owe on your home? Now, always get a payoff demand. It's something free that you can get. You can call the company of wherever their mortgage is, and you can order it straight from the phone, and they'll send it to you in a fax, or sometimes they mail it out to the clients. Sometimes you can ask your clients to go into their portals where they make their payments on a monthly basis, and they can pull payoff demands from there as well. We want to work with a true payoff demand versus what a client is seeing on a mortgage statement. And the reason why is that not a lot of people know this, but they're additional fees, and they usually charge interest and things through payoffs. So for that reason, they are going to require a payoff demand for us to even open an escrow to get true figures. So might as well get it up front. Might as well be working with true numbers when you're talking with a client. And it's something that you can get almost same day. Some companies, especially right now where we're super crazy, can take up to 10 days. So at least if you're working on getting it and you can know that it's coming out your way, you'll eventually have those true numbers for concrete information for your clients. Another great question to ask is what they've done in renovations to the house. Now, every person's lived in their house for X amount of time, and they may have renovated their home. If you can identify what love and they've input into their home and their renovations that they've done, then that's going to help you really outline where their mentality is on what their value their value that they're anticipating is going to be at. And you want to identify if this is a personal home or if it's a rental home. You need to know if the home's occupied or if it's vacant. These are very basic questions we want to identify up front. We also need to know if there's any repairs that need to get done on the house. Now, most of the time people know, okay, yeah, you know, my kitchen sink has been leaking, or, you know, this has been going on. And so they're really just telling you things that they're going through. But one thing I can also suggest is getting a home inspection. If your clients are up for it, getting a home inspection can save you a lot of headache later on. And what you're going to do is basically get somebody who professionally come out to the house, check everything from top to bottom, ensure the house, you know, is sound and secure. That way, if a home buyer does a home inspection, there's no surprises. They're not going to say, hey, all of a sudden we found, you know, the whole basement is molded, and, you know, now we have to do A, B, and C in order to still make the deal work and things like that. So we want to avoid things like that. Getting an inspection up front is something that's easy and you can do. Some companies charge really cheap, so you can get a cheaper one, but definitely try and get one if you can. And so that's where we're jumping into, would you be open to getting a home inspection? And do you think, what do you think that your home will sell for? Now, even if they don't give you an answer, if you can push a little pressure onto what they are, because you want them to get you, or you want to get them to at least give you a gist of it value. And really what you're trying to identify here is, are they being super realistic, or are they open-minded, right? Because sometimes a client may go way over what you're thinking in your head, but if you can't figure out where they're thinking in their mentality, then it's going to be harder to overcome that objection, because you're trying to figure it out. Now, if they do give you a value, ask them how they arrived there. Now, the reason you're going to ask them how they arrived there is because they may think that, hey, I put in a brand new pool. I invested $30,000. I expect $30,000 in appraisal value for the pool that I put in. And as much as I wish that that was true, the reality is it's not. And so for those types of things, is that if you can identify where their train of mind is and what they're believing, hopefully it'll help you overcome the objections later on. Then we're going to move into how familiar are you with this process? This is even a question that I ask with my clients on my pre-screen. If you guys have attended my pre-screen course, you guys know that we go over what questions you should be asking for any person that you're meeting. Really, you want to identify their level of what is going on. There are going to be so many clients. I can't tell you how many clients I have met over the years that truly have no understanding of how this home process works. So if you can identify if they're a beginner or if they're an experienced person, you'll know how much you need to go into detail when you're explaining something. Now, if you're that agent that says, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it, fine. But you can't be surprised when a client gets upset with you later on because you didn't go over something and then the worst happened and you didn't do your due diligence, because those types of situations happen all the time, especially in our industry, something that you can prevent. So asking how familiar they are, knowing what you're talking about, and educating at every step of the way will really help you be the top-notch agent that I know you agents are. Once everything is said and done, you've gone through these questionnaires, we are going to end out the conversation with, so if everything sounds great and the price is acceptable, would you be willing or open to putting the home on the market when we meet? Right? We're already setting up those little seeds. We are getting them mentally prepared that if I did my thing, I did everything I knew I was going to do, I dropped my mic at the end of that consultation, I know without a shadow of a doubt they'd want to list that house. So we want to get them prepared for that, right? Because then sometimes you go into that appointment and they're thinking, oh, you're just coming over to come give them some feedback. And really, we're there to do business. That's what we're here for. That's what we came to do. And we're not messing around. So we're ready to rock when they are. Now, a suggestion I can make is creating a pre-listing packet. A pre-listing packet can have things like who you are, why you, right? Why do people want to do business with you? What do you do differently? What is something that stands out about you? Why are you so passionate about what you do? Also include your mission. What are you on a mission for? What is your commitment to these clients? Are you that client that's going to answer their call? Oh my gosh, I seen a post on the internet the other day of one of a really close agent of mine had said that he couldn't get in contact with a listing agent, so the buyer called him to discuss a contract. Imagine that, an agent who is not reachable. So a client is basically doing their job. You know, these are the types of things where it's like, you know that you would never do that, right? And I hope you agents are listening, that you should never do that. You should never not be accessible when you guys are on a listing, or at least have somebody else if you're not available to be able to do that. But this listings are your money. You got to earn them. You got to work hard. So definitely setting up your mission and your commitments to letting them know, this is what I'm committed to doing for you. I'm on a mission to help you reach those goals, and I will stop at nothing to get that done. Also including things like past reviews and current inventory. Past reviews are so great because let your clients sing your praise. If you do a good job, they never have a reason to say anything bad about you. And those always shine. People understand that, you know, these transactions get hard. So when you have constant clients saying that you are amazing, you did everything you could, then really that outshines to other clients, and they see that and they want to work with you. They don't ever want to work with agents that are like 3-star reviews, lack of communication. I mean, even I, as a consumer, would never want to do business with someone. I'm the person that if I go on Amazon and I'm trying to purchase something, I look up from the reviews versus I looking up on how many products that they sold. And so for me, I want to see that the business, or that I'm doing business with somebody who is worthy of my business. Current inventory is a great way. Now, I know some agents are new, so they may not have current inventory, which is okay. If you don't have current inventory, you don't have to include it in the packet. But if you do, and you just want to justify once again how successful that you've been doing it with other clients, it's a great thing to include inside your packet. And you don't have to include a bunch. You can do maybe 1 or 2, just showing these are other listings that I have available, or if you'd like to see all of my listings, you know, here's where you can go to access all of my listings. So these are great things to include in that packet. You also want to have an education portion in your packet. And this is something that really is just whatever you like to throw into it, but the more, the better. The more the information they have, the better that there are hopefully you have enough time in your presentation to go over these things with them, even if you can just glance over it briefly, because it really, once again, it kind of connects everything. And it's like as if you're in an interview, right? And you're going into this thinking, okay, I'm going to show them everything that's fantastic. And at the end of it, hopefully they still want to do business with you. All right, so some of the education things that I think are great to have in there is the home selling process. Now, from beginning to end, what are they going to go through? From the moment that you have this consultation to the minute they get the pre-listing, then they get to the listing, then they get to the escrow, then they get to the closing, right? What are they going through? What do they need to expect? What is going to be a requirement for them to be able to get through these steps? Then we want to go into marketing. How are you planning to market the house? I think that you can outline a strategy of what you plan to do, but I'm going to give you guys some tips on different ways to market houses, because the truth is there are dozens and dozens of different ways that you can market listings. So it's just picking what one fits for you. Then how to prep their home for viewings. Now, an experienced agent knows that houses that are dirty or houses that are, not very maintenance, sometimes it's hard for buyers to envision themselves in the house. And so it is always great for you to just kind of give them to clean up a little bit, maybe put things away, take away some of the photos that are in the house, so that families can now envision themselves in the homes that they'll be looking into. And if you can include a little checklist for them, like, maybe pick up laundry, maybe put some fresheners of scents in the bathroom, replace, trash bins, things like that are easy for a client to do. They can do it and it doesn't cost them $1, but it's going to really go a long haul. And if you can include that in the packet, something you can go over in the presentation, letting them know. Now, once we get the house on the market, if you can, these are some tips and instructions on how you can prep the house for any person who wants to come into view. I've found that a house is likely to sell more or, is sell faster if we have it cleaned up and they can really, truly see themselves in this house. So it's just a different way of being able to, once again, get the listing, out there to buyers, and they can get their offers in because they see themselves living in those houses. Other things you can include are like local market statistics. If you can include things about what is going on in that neighborhood, how houses are doing, these are great. Though you will go through a comparative market analysis, which will be the heavy bulk of your consultation with these clients. So once you are able to do that, that will really go more in detail with the market statistics. Some question and answers are really great to have, just basic question and answers, things that you get commonly asked from clients. If you're able to put it in a Q&A, it can take more of your time away from answering those Q&As in the consultation and more time focusing on the CMA. Then we have visuals and infographics. Visuals and infographics are great because people can see and understand a lot better. Now, visual infographics, if you don't have a good access for those, Canva is a really great source. You can create your own infographics on there. I do it all the time for marketing, so it's something easy. Canva does charge for their monthly subscription, but you are able to utilize infographics and visualizations on there and also create more custom marketing pieces. All right, jumping into selling you. Give me 1 second. I'm going to put this on you. So sorry about that. My daughter and my son are literally in front of me with their distant learning, so bear with me while I get through this. All right, so let's jump into selling you. So key part of landing this listing presentation is having a great first impression with them and showing them that you are truly the person for the job. So your first impression is going to be everything. You want to be confident. You never want to doubt yourself. If you've done a good job with your pre-questions, you've done a good job with your comparative market analysis, and you're going into this consultation prepared. There is nothing that can stop you. You are the person who is going to shine so hard that they have no reason to conduct business with any person else other than you. Another important thing is to smile. Smiling is so easy, but yet so many people forget to do it. I cannot tell you enough how many times people tell me in consultations that, oh my God, you're always so happy, you're always so positive. Why are you, well, not maybe why am I like that, but more so that they love the energy of how I am. And for me, it's always something that I know goes a long way. If I'm happy, I'm positive, people feel that energy, they know that I will stop at nothing for them. Being on time is one of the easiest things that you can do, but so many people don't do it. You have to value a client's time, period. We all get 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So in order for you to show that you are worthy of doing business with them, you need to show them that you also value them as a client. And valuing their time is such an easy thing for you to do. Being on time is so respectful for them. And so make sure you're never late. And if you are late, make sure you're calling and explaining why you're late, but make it a habit that you leave your house an hour early prior to this consultation so that you can get there maybe 30 minutes ahead of time, get into the right state of mind to get into this consultation and crush it. I like to give myself buffer time before stuff because once again, I got to get to the right mindset. Not every time am I ready to rock and roll the moment I'm on. So for me, I just need to get a little bit prepared doing a small meditation session, which I know sounds kind of dorky. And if you're not into meditation, it's okay. You don't have to do it. But for me, meditating even for 5 minutes, there's a really great app called Calm, helps me just kind of breathe through and know that there's nothing that I can't do, nothing that there is going to stop me because I know what I'm talking about. Once that's all said and done, I want to dress for success. Now, I've been to a listing presentation where my agent wore flip-flops. Granted, I bit my tongue and I told him after we got out of the consultation, you have to be absolutely crazy to think that sandals are an appropriate attire for a consultation. They are not. You should come dressed for success. They need to know you mean business. If you're walking in and you're looking like you're not meaning business, they're going to feel that. They're going to know that maybe you're not as serious as you hope to be. Be honest and work with integrity. I know that that's such a cliche thing to say, but it really, really goes a long way. If you're honest and you're always truthful, people have no reason to be upset with you. And if you're always, once again, preparing for worst case scenario, then people understand what you're doing in your job and it makes them understand why they want to do business with you and what you have to do because of what your job entails. Working with integrity is hard. And I know that a lot of times what happens, agents are faced with earning large amounts of income or working with integrity. And I can tell you more often than not, integrity will get you further. So if you are one of those people that is not honest and doesn't work with integrity, then definitely have a little bit of self-realization that it's only going to get you so far. Really, people want honest people to work with. And if you don't do your due diligence, then your clients won't become a client for life. Now, I dedicate myself to my agents. So I always tell them that I have a 360 experience. My 360 experience is going to be that at the end of their term, that they become a client for life because I did my due diligence. I educated them. I went over everything top to bottom and I did the right thing. No matter what, whether it was in the best interest for me or if it was in the best interest for the client, I always went with what was in the best interest for the client because everything else does not matter. So if you can keep a mindset like that, you really will go a long way with being, a top-notch agent. The last one is listen and don't overtalk the client. I see this happen a lot and it makes me so sad because I feel like maybe your moms didn't tell you how rude it is. Don't talk over people. Let people have an opportunity to voice their voice. And you're going to hear a lot of emotional things from clients because you have to understand you're selling a piece of property. People have built their homes inside of it. Their families live here. They spend their days here. This is not a joke. This is something that is very important to people. And if you overtalk them and you don't give them an opportunity to speak, they will know. They see it. They feel it. And I have clients that have told me in past, I couldn't get a word out with that person. They were overtalking everything I was saying. And for me, hearing that, it makes me so sad because I want to hear what clients have to say. And we should all want to hear what everyone's goals are and help them achieve the goals versus pushing them into things that they're not ready for, not wanting to do. So these are just different ways of being a top-notch agent. I hope that it helps you guys really go in and crush it when you guys are in these consultations. All right, let's jump into outlining a marketing strategy.
So Amanda,
Yeah.
Real quick before you move on, if we have a couple questions that did pop up in the chat.
Sure, bring them on.
Okay, so you had mentioned that you use Canva for some of your marketing materials. I know Canva is an app. Someone mentioned it in the chat that Canva is an app. Is there a website that you use for marketing?
Website and an app. I use
so
both.
It's both. Okay, great. Perfect.
Yeah, and
Canva,
it does charge. It's about $15 a month, but I pay for the annual one, so it just knocks it all out. If you can't pay for the annual one and you can pay for the monthly one, it's $15 a month. And really, there's so many great tools on it. I stress agents all the time. It's worth your buck.
Okay, and then give me just a moment, and I have a little freezing issue with my computer. There we go. There's a question about if you're doing a listing presentation to be someone's agent, what if the customer says, I want to interview 3 other agents first? Should you be first or should you be last?
It's not going to matter if you do your job well. Okay. Really, if you go in, you crush it once again. If you know what you're talking about, you are the person for the job. And that's all that matters. And if you constantly go in with that confidence, then people are going to see it, they're going to feel it, and they're going to want to do business with you over any person else. There are so many sloppy, lazy agents out there, and that's not going to be you after this class. You guys are going to go into these consultations, and you guys are going to knock it out of the park because you did your due diligence, you did the hard work, and you showed them that you're the person for the job.
Great. Okay. That's all that's in the chat. So I'll go ahead and turn my video off again, and we'll go ahead and continue on.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's go over a little bit of the timeline for selling a home, right? Because we want to be able to go over this with a client, especially in a consultation, because once again, we want to prepare them for the stages of what they're going to go through. Makes their experience a little bit better. It makes them feel like they're in control a little bit because they know what's going on. Now, first and foremost is we're reviewing goals, right? We did that first initial call. We got through everything. We identified what is important to them. Then we need to secure financing. This is where loan officers come into play, and you should have a very strong realtor by you, hand in hand, working with you to get the pre-approval as quickly as you can, or qualification or a pre-approval, depending on what you guys are trying to do. Discussing your selling strategy with the client, right? That was that initial consultation you got through with the client. After everything was said and done, you went through your marketed comparative analysis, you determined a sales price, and you executed your sales contract. Then you get into listing the house, right? Once the house is listed, it is active, it is seen by every person on the MLS. This is where the work starts, right? So now you got to get the house up and listed and getting it done. So this is where professional photos are being taken, homes being listed, marketing campaigns start, open houses, virtual open houses, which I know right now open houses are not a thing. So if you guys aren't able to do an open house, virtual open houses are a great alternative right now during COVID. Showings, offers, and negotiations. And hopefully after all of that was said and done, you enter into contract. Now, when you enter into contract, then you still need to go through your 30 days of escrow. And something I like to do with clients is go over what the loan process is like as well, so that once again, they can understand and see this is what they're going to be waiting on while they're waiting for the loan to get processed. And these are the hurdles that have to go through for the buyer's end in order to make sure this is done and closed and being able to walk away with their final closing information. All right. Once we have finally gotten through the escrow, everything is said and done, we close on the transaction, they do the transfer of title, give out the keys to the list or to the seller or to the, oh my goodness, to the buyer's agent. All right, so all right, so different and creative ways to market, because we all know there are dozens and dozens of ways of being able to do it, but here are some easy ones. And a lot of the ones that I included here today are stuff that are easy to do and something that is affordable for budget. I realize a lot of agents are new agents or agents that are still trying to build their business, and maybe you guys have been in the industry for a few years, but you still might be working commission to commission. So really, these are easy things that you guys are going to be able to do, but still kind of keep it relatively within budget. So professional photography, something that's so easy that you can do. Getting somebody to come out to take, photos of the house really makes a difference. If you compare photos to photos that are on the internet versus an actual photography photo, you can really tell the difference. And sorry, I meant to say from a cell phone to a professional photography photos. You can tell the difference. You're going to be able to identify, okay, wow, this is a really great professional photography photo, or this was a photo that my grandma took and it's kind of, you know, blurry. And they're not going to be able to see themselves envisioning themselves living in these homes if the photography isn't good enough. And so getting a photographer to come out to a house can sometimes be about $200, but it really does make it worth it because this is going to make the house look crisp, clean, and ready to go and ready to be sold to a buyer. The next one's going to be yard signs. Yard signs are easy to do, putting them out in front of the house. Something I encourage you to look into is doing sign writers. Sign writers are so great because you can add a QR code so that somebody can come up with their Android or iPhone, take a picture of it, and get into an access for a single website for this property. Now, single websites are great as well for you to be able to use. A website you can use is List Reports. List Reports is free for realtors. Though if you market it with a loan officer, you're able to get more incentives like the sign writers that they offer. But you can do these sign writers that have the QR codes and create a single sign website so that your clients can automatically go to the site, see the information on the house in case there's not any more flyers left in your yard sign, which is something you should include as well. But they can see everything they need to see. They can also have access to your contact information if they're serious about putting a home. And hopefully, maybe you can generate the buyer so you're double ending your transaction. Then we move into brochures, mailers, and flyers. Now, these are easy to do. If you need help with my flyers, mailers, or brochures, it's something that my company offers. My company does have a marketing company and firm built into NewAmerican Funding, so we can help you guys get flyers out for these. But I know that sometimes flyers can be costly, so we just take that into consideration that you do have to pay for some of these different things. You got to pay for ink if you have a printer at home. So flyers, you know, it does have a cost, but it hopefully outweighs when you're getting this market information out to. Now, I suggest with flyers that you get that out to every person in that neighborhood as quickly as you can, as soon as you get those houses listed, because really most of the time people want to move within their same neighborhoods, and you're likely to find a buyer if you're marketing very close in the neighborhood, because people can buy homes closer to where they're already at and still be in the same neighborhood, but maybe be in a different home. Custom website. So that goes hand in hand with the QR code website that I suggested. Creating a custom website there, I'm sure there's probably dozens out there where you could go on and create a website for it. List Reports is a free one where you can go on and do that. So though I do have to say with List Reports, if you are planning to do one, they don't work on the weekend. So you need to get your listing approved. I'd probably say Thursday or early Friday, because everything on Saturday and Sunday they won't get to, and you won't get an approval or a website until the following week. Then we have social media posts and ads. Now, if you don't have a business page on Facebook, you cannot create an Instagram page, but you should have both. Whether you are a social butterfly or not a social butterfly, social media is a key. You need to have both so that you can be successful, even if you don't utilize them like you want to be on it all the time. That's okay. I personally don't go on Facebook. I'm not a fan of Facebook. I really don't like using it. I think it's gotten way too political for me. But I know it's a great tool. I know that there's so many people that are still on there. So for me, I use Facebook more so to run my ads. Ads are different ways of being able to get people to connect with me without having to be social butterfly on social media. Now, ads do cost, and you need to be understanding that they do cost, and it's just the cost of doing business. But I would probably say you can set a budget as small as $50 and increase it all the way up to about $500. Right now, I'm averaging about $1,000 per month in marketing advertisements. But for me, it's something that generates tons of business, and I know that it's great, so I want to continue doing it. Social media posts can range from doing something as quick as a video of yourself, even introducing the marketing the house, letting people know it's coming up, letting people know it's active, letting people know, and different things like that are just great ways of being able to let people know this is here, it's available, so bring your buyers, let people, you know, want to hopefully submit offers on that house. Then we move into Google, Bing, and Yahoo. Google, Bing, and Yahoo, you can also do ads with. So once again, cost of doing business, you are going to have to pay for ads. Those ads actually get funneled to multiple different sites. So those are great avenues to go if you want to get really, I would suggest those on really higher market listings. If you have a house that's probably at a $300,000 budget, not many people are, probably going to get attracted to a Google, Bing, Yahoo ad, but for a price point, maybe in a high 800 above, then yes, that's a great way of being able to get more people. And you want to maybe market luxury websites like car dealers, things like that. Those type of keywords are great because those are the type of audience that you're trying to get attracted to what you're trying to sell. Premier exposure on Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia. I know you agents utilize these tools and you guys are on these websites, but truth is not a lot of the information on there is true. So sometimes buyers don't go on these websites because their agent might have told them don't use these apps. But right now, it's a great way of being able to get your information on there, because for those clients that haven't yet met with an agent are on these sites because they don't know better. So when you do finally connect with them, always suggest that they get in contact with your personal house search so that you can market yourself versus being marketed with all the other Zillow, Realtor, Trulia agents that are being constantly bombarded in their faces all day long. And then we have videos, which videos kind of ties in with the professional photography and also with the social media. Videos are a great way to do. An app that you guys can use is an app called Quick, and it's an app by GoPro. This is something that is free that you can download. You can make a quick video. If you need help or you would like to see how to make a video on this, you can reach out to me and I'll go over how you can do the videos. I think it's really easy. I've showed agents at open houses before. I know right now we're not doing open houses, which is kind of a downer, but if you can get into a house, do one of these videos and post it on your social media page, it really goes a long way. And the great benefit to the Quick app is that it has built-in music already. It's really easy in interfacing, easy interfacing system. When you go onto it, you can text type right into the screen and it'll populate on there. So you can put, the listing address information, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, your contact information, and really you can get this video done in maybe 10 minutes or so. So it doesn't take very long to do, and it's free, right? We all love free. Then I would jump into email campaigns with your sphere of influence. Your sphere of influence is any person that you've ever conducted business with, your family, your friends, also people that you've ever worked with, coworkers, acquaintances, things like that. If you are an agent who does not have a CRM, I am so sorry. That's my little one. She's getting off of class now from distant learning. I apologize. All right. Then we go into the email campaigns with the sphere of influence. So CRMs are so important to keep in contact with your sphere of influence. I teach a class on how to manage your book of business. And in that, we dive in more on what CRMs are great, why it's so important to have it, different ways that you can be able to maximize your usage on it. So definitely, if you guys would like to hear more about that, tune in for that class. I should have more classes coming up soon. I know Nancy and I are working on our schedule for I believe we have it booked out for the rest of the year. So if you guys want to attend that class, we go more in depth on CRMs and how you can really use them. But it's a great way of connecting all of your sphere and being able to let them know, hey, this is new houses I have on the market. Hey, this is something that is in your neighborhood. Would you be interested in? Or do you know any person who would be interested in this home, right? Something easy you can do, something free you can do. Open houses and virtual open houses. Virtual open houses are probably more of your go-to right now. Open houses, when they come back, I can't stress you enough, are gold. This is the easiest, the best, by far amazingest way to get a house listed and get it sold as quickly as possible, and to get buyers for yourself and maybe even for other transactions. I have not done a single open house where I haven't generated at least 2 to 3 viable candidates of home buyers or of people who wanted to list their houses. Really, people are coming into this because they're going into these open houses and they're daydreaming, and that's what they're really going into these open houses for. So trying to make sure you're engaging with them in open houses is so great. And people want to talk. People want to talk about their goals. If you hear and you're there to listen, they are going to want to vent to you, and you can help them reach those goals and do it different than any other agent. Virtual open houses are great right now because of COVID, and I know that there are some great tools out there for you to be able to do virtual open houses. I don't have any suggestions on which ones are out there, but I have seen many of the virtual open houses on just some of the websites, and I think they're great. So if you can do them, it's another alternative way of being able to get people to see the house. Then doing an agent or a broker preview. If you are an agent that if you're in an office that has many different agents, has lots of different people, invite them to come and see the house, let them know that this house is available, have them bring their clients that they know are shopping so that they might be able to share with their other family members as well, or if they're interested in buying it. And it's just a different way of being able to get more people and exposure for this house. Door knocking is another fantastic way. It's something free that you can do, though I don't know how agents are doing. You guys might know if you guys have been door knocking, if they're actually answering the doors right now. I know I had a lady who came to do the census and she was like, nobody's answering their doors. And so that could be what you experience if you go out and try and door knock at this time. I'm not entirely sure how that is going, but when things get back to normal, which they will eventually, door knocking is a great way of being able to get your name out there, talk to neighbors. When a house is brand new, getting ready to get listings, taking those flyers out and going around the blocks, literally every street that you can that is real close access to, if you can go and drop off a flyer, you're going to get more people wanting to come in and see this house. People are nosy. So even if they're not ready to buy, they're probably going to want to go to the open house just so that they can see what the inside of the house looks like and see what the purchase price is. And now, granted, looky-loos are never great, but if you can help them realize that buying a homeowner is so beneficial, maybe you might convert some of those renters into homeowners, or maybe you get people who are coming in who are motivated. So there's different ways of being able to get these houses marketed. You can see here 12 really fantastic ideas of being able to do it with relatively easy budgets. Now, obviously, there's probably more ways that you can market a listing, but these are just easy ones that you should be doing on all transactions. All right, so now we know different ways of being able to market a house.
Hey, Amanda.
Yes.
Hey, sorry, real quick. I do want to remind everybody, these are amazing suggestions for all of you to market and promote and get clients and all that. I just want to stress that CAR has some really strict guidelines, and that everyone should check with CAR before you do any of these, because some of them may not be possible in your city. Like someone had mentioned in the chat that door knocking, some cities have ordinances on door knocking. So yeah, so just make sure that you check with CAR Legal, or you can contact Bill Rue at our association. His email is bruh@cvar.net. And he's a great resource for anything, any city ordinances, sign ordinances, things like that. Just check with him first, and always check with your broker too. If you have questions, Amanda's a great resource, and Bill is a great resource. And I just wanted to let everybody know that, because it is very important right now. We don't want you to get in trouble and then say, oh, we went to CVAR and we saw it on a CVAR class. Well, you need to do your due diligence, and you need to make sure that you can do those things in your city and in your county. So thank you for letting me give my disclaimer.
No, you're
All right,
fine.
guys.
I'm actually so happy that you said that. You're right. There are a lot of legal parts to marketing, and we all have to remember that there are a lot of legal parts to doing that. Oh, give me 1 second.
Okay, well, Amanda's stepping away. I just wanted to let everybody know that this session is being recorded, and we will show the replay on our replay site. The recording of this session on our replay site, it is at cvar.live, cvar.live. The recording should be posted next week on that site. And also, that's a great thank you, Shady, for putting that information in the chat. Yes, the PowerPoint will be available. The slides from today's session, Amanda's going to email them to me. So yes, if you would like a copy of the slides from today's session, so you can have your notes and you can have them for future reference, please just send me a quick email, saying, can I get a copy of the presentation from today's listing class? And I will go ahead and email those over to you. So thank you for pointing that out and reminding us. So the replay will be posted on cvar.live, I would say by Wednesday of next week. And then for a copy of the slides for today's session, please email me. It's noakley@cvar.net. And I will go ahead and put that information in the chat as well. And I will send you a copy of the slides. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, so sorry about that. Once again, I have kiddos here at distant learning, and every once in a while they need a little bit of my attention. But one thing I have to say about the marketing, and I'm so glad that Nancy kind of chimed in here, because marketing, it really gets sensitive when it comes to the licensing information and what you're putting on there. You always need to have your proper licensing number, and it needs to be active. I cannot stress that enough. There are people who are out there who are searching social media to make sure you're in compliance with what you're posting. If you're not, you could be facing fines. So it's not something you should mess around with. I always include the equal housing lender because that's something that's a requirement for me. But one thing you can do is go to CAR's website and get the information of what you need to legally have on your marketing pieces, because you always want to make sure you're in compliance with the laws. Never want to jeopardize your license. There's no marketing piece that is worth jeopardizing your license or being fined. So hope that helps you guys when you guys are getting ready for your marketing pieces. All right, now we just talked about a lot of the different ways where you can market your house. And in your consultation, obviously you're not going to be doing all of them, but if you can identify which ones that you do and what is going to be the most beneficial for the client, it's great for you to outline it with them and just talk about it. So telling them that we're going to determine a competitive market pricing. And so, oh, I spelled competitive wrong. Sorry about that typo. But we want to talk about the competitive market price. And when you're saying competitive, it's that the truth is these houses are competing against each other. So it's either they're going to buy your house or they're going to buy the house down the street. Which house are you going up against? So when we're outlining this marketing strategy, if we're letting them know that we want to determine their competitive market price, that's going to help them identify that we want to be competitive in this. And then we want to talk about how we can do maybe some professional photography that's included in your marketing budget. Then we want to talk about us doing a for sale yard sign equipped with a QR code and flyers, and letting them know that you'll be refreshing the flyers once per week so that they're constantly being able to get distributed out to the public. Then we'll talk about how you can distribute postcards, flyers, mailers to the neighborhood, showing them in the consultation. If you have mock-up ones are great. If you can, previous to your consultation, drive by the house, take a picture of it, and create a flyer. That way you already have a flyer that you can demonstrate to them. I would do a marketing piece like this, and this would go out to every person in this neighborhood. I would hit all of the surrounding blocks so that every person in this neighborhood is going to know that your house is available and listed, and hopefully we can attract some buyers into it, right? That's something that you can explain to them that's easy for them to understand. They're going to be like, wow, she knows what she's doing. She's going to get my house sold in a day. Which is hopefully all of our goals. I know right now the market is a seller's market. So I don't think that you'll have a very difficult time getting houses sold. I think right now it's very, very, very competitive for these buyers out here. But we just need to know if we're getting out these listings, you know, these are different ways that you're going to demonstrate why you're, once again, the person for the job. Then I go into social media posts. If you already have your social media post created, or if you can do a quick social media post letting them know, hey, I have a house that's potentially getting ready to get listed. If any person is interested in looking in this particular area and would like to see this new upcoming listing, please reach out to me and we'll get you connected so that hopefully when the house hits the market, you'll be the first to access the property, right? Videos like that are great to post, so you're getting people to want to come and you know, see the house, getting them hyped up for it, and hopefully you'll be able to show your client that you know how to manage the social media part of it, which is a big key now that we're in a digital age, and majority of people are internet savvy. Most people have access from their cell phone, so that's where they're doing their home searching for. And if we have social media posts, that's just another way of you being able to engage with your sphere. Hosting open houses right now, we obviously want to do those virtually, but if you can let them know what your strategy is for open houses. I will host a strategy, or I'll host an open house every other week for the next 4 weeks until we get the house sold, or, you know, I'll set up this. Now, granted, obviously logistic wise, you want to make sure they're comfortable with open houses because you're taking over their house to basically have it for a day when you're doing those open houses. But once again, if you're on the same page about this, you can let them know this is a great way of being able to get this house out to buyers, and letting them see it is going to be a just better situation for us. Then we want to start an email campaign. If you have a past email campaign that you can share with them that shows them what you send out to your sphere. If you do not have an email campaign and you would like to see what an email campaign can look like, please feel free to reach out to me. I do email campaigns for my clients as well, so I can share with you some tips on different email things that you can send out to your clients.
Here's your reminder. Friday is time for lunch.
All right, so now we got done with marketing. Those are all some really great ways of being able to market it, outline the marketing strategy to the clients, telling them what it's going to entail. Then we're going to talk about comps, pricing, and the pitfalls of overpricing. So in your consultation, you should be conducting a comparative market analysis. The comparative market analysis is really what I like to think of as you going over what their home is worth versus you telling them what their home is worth. Now, the difference is if you are going through this comparative market analysis with them, then you are going to be able to arrive at the value together. Now, if you're telling them a value, but you're not showing them how you arrived there, they are less likely to agree with where you're arriving at. Now, once again, it goes back to those initial questions that we asked, which were, what are the goals? What are they trying to do? Because this all play into it. But as we mentioned before, numbers is another key part of it. And so a lot of times what clients are going through in their mental state of mind is, first and foremost, sometimes they don't know that they're paying for 2 commissions. So because they don't know that, when you talk about that for the first time, sometimes it's a little bit of a shock for them. Second thing is that a lot of times they're hoping they're gonna net $1 million. Now, in not every situation are they gonna net $1 million. And so really all they wanna figure out is, how much am I gonna make? What is gonna be charged to me? And then it makes sense for where they believe their home is worth. So it all takes connecting the dots. So the first step that we're going to do is a property analysis. We're going to look at the area, the neighborhood, the size and the square footage of the unit. We're going to look at the lot size, the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, other rooms that they might have, amenities that it might have, number of floors, years built, how close they are to amenities, if it's further out, it's close, recent improvements that they've done to the house, previously listed and sold prices. Those, you really just want to figure out where they were at. Sometimes it doesn't really play into it because the house could be really, really thriving in the market that it's at. But you want to have it for a point of reference in case you need to go back for notes and just kind of think more, is this being realistic? Was this house sold, last year for this amount, and now I'm trying to come up an extra $40,000, which agents don't do that. It doesn't make sense. It's got to make sense. Appraisers are looking at this. They're the ones who are really dictating what the appraisal value are. Now, appraisals are always going to be up for interpretation, so every person can look at something differently. But for the most part, we all kind of see just a bit things, so we'll go over what we're going to go over. We're going to go over how you can go a little bit more in depth with it. One more point I wanted to make in regards to seeing and reviewing property rates, Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia.com. Property Rate is actually a website that my company offers. Property Rate is connected to our appraisal management company, and it allows for us to see what likely comps our appraisers are going to be using on a house. And so this really, for us, we like to go more off of, because it's a little bit more concrete for us, because we know that these are likely to be the comps that the appraiser is going to use. Now, these, once again, are all estimates, and sometimes on Zillow, Realtor, and Trulia, we're getting real big numbers. And I always have to advise clients that as much as we wish Zillow, Trulia, and Realtor.com were true, fact of the matter is they're not. And it is important that they understand that those are not true values. And What dictates the values are recent comparable sales, how the house is doing in the market that it's at, and it's, you know, we'll go over what other things we look at. Once we've collected all of our information, we're going to research comparables. So we are going to pick about 3 to 5 properties that are relatively close to our house, and we're going to add them to a list of comps. So as you're going through this, you can do it in your MLS. I think it's a great way to do it in your MLS. It's easier to do it there. Or if you're an agent that wants to do property profiles, you can do that. It takes a little bit longer because you got to run all of them, but these are all different ways that you can be able to get access to this information. Now, comparable properties should have the same number of bedrooms and bathrooms, or really close to it, at least like 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, maybe, or half bathroom off is okay. Within 300 square feet size of the house, and in the same relatively close neighborhood. It needs to be the same or similar lot size. Age of home and features need to be relatively close. We need to identify recently sold properties in the area by looking up sold listings online, looking at past listings within a radius of 1 to 3 miles of your property, searching for homes that were sold in the last 1 to 3 months, because these ones are going to be the ones that we are likely to use versus using one that was maybe 6 months back. Now, in some cases, there might not have been any recent sales in that neighborhood. And so in those instances, then we expand our search to go an additional 6 months back. And if we need to, an additional, 3 months back from there, and then an additional 12 months. So very rare do you need to go back that far, but if you need to, you need to. Or if you need to widen your map a little bit because you're not finding recent comparable sales, you can widen your map a little bit further. All right. Now, once we've gone through, we've identified our property, we're looking at the comparables. Now we're looking at those houses in comparison to our house, right? So when we're doing this, we need to identify what houses are like way better than ours, right? Better house, better features, top notch. Literally, if you were buying a house, that would be the one that you picked over, your house that you're selling, right? Then we have the houses like need some repairs, not so great, maybe on a street that's super busy and just not super great, right? That is going to be our floor price. So when we're looking at that one, and then we're looking at the house that is super great, right? We are showing these comparisons to the client so that they're also seeing it and they're not seeing you're making this stuff up, right? Once again, it goes hand in hand with them arriving at the value with you versus you telling them what the value is, okay? Now, as you are going through, you're comparing it to these really beautiful houses and to the floor price. So now we're getting a gist of kind of where we should be at. So if, say, for instance, you've seen houses that were at 345, 35, 350, and your house is smack dab in the middle, well, now you know you're around the 345 range, and you're kind of building these numbers in your head. You never want to give them a full number until you've completed everything, okay? Because if you start giving them numbers prematurely, once again, you haven't built it to where you need to be, so they aren't going to ride there with you. Now that you've identified your floor value, once again, you're showing them this is what worst case scenario would be. This would be if somebody wanted to buy your house and they wanted to offer way lower than what it was valued, this is probably where I would be at. So we don't want to be there. We want to be somewhere in the middle, okay? The next step is going to be assessing the home in person. Now, hopefully you're in the consultation with them and you're able to just do a loop around the house, be able to really just take some notes, things that you notice, things that might need to get repaired, whatever amenities, any upgrades, what kind of fixtures, things like that all play into what an appraiser is going to see. And so you can add those into your notes on when you're, so when you go back over it with them, when you're deciding the market value, you're able to tell them, okay, so based off of all the things that we've talked about, right, and our walk around the house, we have noticed that this is where your house is. Now, based off of this, I suggest, right, suggest is a key word because once again, we are helping them arrive at the value with us versus telling them what we believe their home is worth, right? We're going to be able to do this together if they arrive at it with us. So when we're doing it, we're going to say, I suggest that we start somewhere around here, okay? See their reaction, see how they're feeling about it. You can usually see if people face, their tone, their bodies, like you can feel their energy as in a sense. But when they flinch a little bit, maybe they're not happy, and then you're going to lean into how do you feel about that, right? Then you're going to take a step back. You're going to allow for them to answer. Give them the opportunity to speak freely on how that, okay? Now, if they don't agree with your value, which can happen, then you're going to want to ask them, okay, well, we went over this, right? We've seen how this house was. We've seen how these were. We're probably somewhere in the middle of here, okay? Now, as we are going through this, I want you to tell me how you arrived at your value, because we have to understand that other agents are doing this as well. They are going to be looking up the comps for the houses. They are going to be offering what they believe is what market value is for this home. And so we need to be able to justify how we arrived at the value that we are saying. And if we are not able to, then we need to revisit and come to a compromise that meets all of our needs, because ultimately we need to get the house listed for a market price and not for what we hope it to be. And at that point, you drop the mic, you did it, you went over it top to bottom. They have no reason to not agree with you. And if they do, then once again, got to go back through the motions. How did you arrive here? Where are we at? How do we get there? Because it all has to make sense. And if it doesn't, then you need to go back in and really be on the same page. So I hope that this market comparative analysis step-by-step helped you guys. I think that it's so important to do in the consultation. I can't stress that enough. All right, so let's talk about what affects pricing. So location is a big factor. Homes in more desirable neighborhoods, homes closer to shopping and like going to the movies, those are all things that people want. So they're gonna wanna pay more for those types of things. Then we have condition, how the house is top to bottom, right? Does it need repairs? Is it, kind of a downer, or is it completely flawless? Doesn't need a single thing, move in, ready to rock and roll, okay? Then we have market. The performance of the market has a huge impact on pricing. And so every house does differently in our market, and every market is going to fluctuate. Though I like to say on average in the state of California, we are very fortunate. Homeowners can probably expect to earn about maybe $5,000 to $10,000 worth of equity at minimum on their homes per year just by being in the state of California. So for that is a huge benefit. Now, other markets like Los Angeles, Orange County, those are even more. So because it's such a desirable neighborhood, people are flocking to those neighborhoods. They want to be there, which means that they pay higher for those houses. So if it's in a desirable neighborhood, people are willing to pay more. And you just need to understand that every market is different. So it may be in, a small city near Riverside, and maybe it's not such a big market. So the price needs to be comparable for what that market is versus a Los Angeles market, which would be very, very different. So understanding what market is, understanding how your house is in that particular market is a great important thing. Terms can, on how you plan to list the property, play a big factor. If the house needs a huge renovation and, people are going to take that into consideration when they're submitting their offers. If the house is, needs a new roof, people have to take that into consideration because ultimately they need a roof. And they may offer lower in price because they know they are going to tackle on a big project like replacing a roof. So terms is another key part of what affects pricing, because if they need to do big repairs, we need to calculate that in there, and we need to understand where our house is in market comparison to a house that already has a roof, and also now taking into consideration that a buyer would have to repair that. And especially if the seller was not willing to pay for that out of the net proceeds that they were planning to net. Now, what does not affect pricing? So cost, what they paid for the home makes no difference. A lot of times you might hear, well, I paid this amount of dollars, which this was more of a conversation after 08, 09 when the market crash had went. A lot of clients were like, no, I paid this for my home and I want this, which we were hoping would happen. But reality is so many families became underwater on their homes. And so what they paid for the home was not what the home was worth after that 08 and 09 market crash. Now, luckily, we're not in that state right now, but it could be a conversation we could be having next year. None of us know what's going to be happening with the market. We're all hoping for the best, but truthfully, we're all shooting in the dark here. Then we move into proceeds. How much they want to net or goal to net does not make a difference on home pricing. So yes, you may have a client that says, I need to make $40,000. And then you're like, okay, I'll list your house so that you net $40,000. But then you way overpriced their house and nobody submitted any offers on it. Then you wasted your client's time. Then they went and it expired. Then they decided they didn't want to work with you because your listing expired with them and they want to work with someone who isn't going to waste their time. So understand, yes, a client could try and make their house purchase price at what they want it to so that they can net what they want to, but market dictates what these houses are going to be sold for. And houses can sit, I see it happen all the time. So we just need to be understanding of that. Collateral, how much you owe on your property makes no difference either. How much a client still owes on their balance on any loans, any solars, any things like that can add, it depletes their net proceeds because sometimes they are required to be paid off in the close of escrow. So it kind of declines the client from wanting to. This is why another great reason that you should have a loan officer in your consultations with you, or at least standing by to answer any of these questions to get true figures. Opinion, what you believe your home is worth makes no difference than what a home is based off of the market and where it's seeing at. So I know a lot of times you get clients that believe they're appraisers, but we have to just remember that when we go through that comparative market analysis, we will arrive together versus us telling them what a client or what we believe their home is worth and them not agreeing with us. All right, so the benefits for proper pricing. So if you do it correctly, you can sell the house faster, right? If you do it priced right, people want to submit offers, they want to get that house, they know it's a great bang for their buck, and they want to be able to get that house. Less inconvenience. So if it's, okay, so properly priced homes are on the market for less time, meaning fewer showing disruptions. So if a house is on the market and for less time, then people don't have to go through all the hassle of getting into the house, getting offer or getting showings done, things like that. Increased agent exposure. So agents want to show properties that are priced right. They want to get their clients in for a good deal, so they're going to show those properties first. They want to increase prospect exposure. So if you want more people to look for the house, then they're going to be priced right and they're going to be within their budget. Higher offers. So if you price the house right, then more people want to submit offers, which means that they might go into a bidding war. If they go into a bidding war, then hey, more power to you, because you're going to have multiple people wanting to buy that house and you'll be able to make an educated decision on what the best offer is for your client. Now, the drawbacks of overpricing. So reduced activity. People, if they believe a house is overpriced, then they're less likely to want to go and see it. And it's always based off of perceived value, because all of a sudden when people become buyers, everyone decides they want to be an appraiser. And so you might have even experienced this when you're going through showings with your buyers where they're like, I don't think that this house is worth that. I would probably do this, because they think that the house is not worth what it was. So they're going to understand, we've been visiting 10 other houses that are in the same relatively neighborhood, and the others offered way more amenities. They had this, this, and this, and that house was priced at this amount. Now this house is priced higher than what that is, and I'm getting less amenities with it. So in a situation like that, it's easy for a buyer to be like, I'd rather go with that and get more bang for my buck than to go with the option where I'm getting less items and I'm paying more. So people really, really think about these things when they're doing their home searching, and we just need to understand that. Now, helps competition. So if we are priced too high and a house is priced lower, once again, with more amenities, then they're going to be more likely to get the offer to escrow versus somebody who is not being competitive, listing the house way higher than what it needs to be. The final one, which is also the most important one, is appraisal hurdles. Now, I know a lot of agents are new and they don't understand how appraisals work. So appraisers are in compliance with federal law. They have to really do a comparative to the market analysis. Now, once again, these are all up into interpretation of what appraiser or what that specific appraiser believes, but it's based off of what's going on in that neighborhood. So when an appraisal doesn't come in, and this happens on transactions, and if you're an experienced agent, you've gone through it, you know that you're literally heart, stomach, gut wrenches, you just feel crappy about it because you thought you did your due diligence doing your market comparative analysis, and you really believed that you were listing the house at the proper amount, but the appraisal came in low. And so what happens in these situations is that we would go back to the appraiser and see if we would be able to do something called a reconsideration. And what this is that we would provide more comps that we feel that can justify the value that we're arriving at. Now, what an appraiser does is that he compares his comps to the comps that we are providing, and he sees which are more comparable. Now, if we can provide enough comps and they believe it, then yes, we may be able to justify the value. But I've gone through many appraisals over my years of being in the industry, and I can tell you I've probably only had 3 appraisers adjust the value when an appraisal came in low. 3, and I've probably had at least 50 appraisals come in low in my time of being in business. So in those instances, it's like, for us, we really as a team need to understand appraisal hurdles can happen. And truly, an appraiser is going to tell us if they believe what our market value is, and the market is going to determine. So in appraisal hurdles, you know that in those instances, typically the buyer is responsible to bring in the difference. If they were unable to do so, or they chose not to do so, you would be canceling a transaction and moving on to a new home, or they would be moving on to a new home, and the seller would be back at square one, having to reprice their home for now what their home is worth if they weren't able to make that deal work with that buyer. So in order to avoid any of those extra hurdles, then definitely make sure you're doing your comparative market analysis properly and that you're doing it. Also, ask your broker to overview everything that you're going to go over with your client. It never hurts to have a second opinion, even asking your fellow realtor partner or fellow realtors in your office for their opinion. Ultimately, this is all up to opinions and what you believe based off of what you're seeing. But hopefully, this will help you be a little bit more clear and make sure that you're close to where we need to be for a market value. All right. Justifying your commission. So justifying your commission is definitely a tricky conversation. I know that when you're going into these consultations, that's probably like heavy on your mind. What am I going to say when they say I'm getting too much commission? Because that's probably the biggest conversation that you have. So if they tell you your commission is too high, someone is basically challenging your commission, it means you haven't demonstrated the value of service that you provide. Now, the best way to overcome the objection entirely is by discussing these market tools early on in the presentation. So and you're going to demonstrate, or you're going to call it a premium market plan. Now, when we went through in the beginning our marketing strategy, you're going to outline what the cost is of these specific things, right? And that is so that they can understand what the cost is that you're going to be enduring until you earn your commission check at the end of the transaction. Now, ultimately, our goal is to be able to sell this home for as cheap as possible and not have to put too many costs into it. But we have to justify the commission. So you're wanting to let them know that you are offering a premium marketing plan for them. So if they still challenge you, you can say something like, I offer a marketing plan that provides you with massive exposure that results in maximum net proceeds to you. If you want to pay a lower commission, I'd be happy to refer you to an agent who provides limited services rather than premium services. Now, saying something like that, it would basically mean they have to do business with someone else, but you're just letting them know that you do things different. You're offering complete 360 package. You're not going to let anything left unturned. And this is premium. This is what you pay for cost of business. And you don't want to take this sale of your home lightly. You're selling a piece of property. Everything matters. And you want an agent who is going to bend over backwards, do everything possible to make sure that they get your home listed, sold as quickly, as efficiently as possible. And that's why you pay for the commissions that you do. Also, going back and explaining a little bit about commissions is a great way of being able to kind of break down the barrier of what they are probably feeling. If you can explain that the sellers are typically paying for the cost of 2 realtors because they have to have the buyer's agent embedded inside of the net proceeds. Now, what you do is we're finding that comparative market analysis true list number so that we can identify, okay, this is what our home is worth. Then after you've completed that, you are going to set your commissions. Don't automatically assume to go with a 3% commission. I know that's your go-to. I know as an agent, you want to make the most amount possible, but you really should be setting your commissions based off of what your client is netting. And you're doing this because you're nice and because you're a human being and because ultimately what you're taking from them is, what you're taking from them. And I always like to think of people as being people, and I never want to take too much away from someone, but I know what I'm worth. I know that my job is not easy. I know that I have to work hard to get this listing sold. So obviously, once I can figure out, okay, if you meet a client and they're netting maybe $10,000, are you really going to charge a 3% commission on each side? That's a 6% commission that you're taking away from the $10,000 that they're going to be making. So in those situations, you can do a less commission. Granted, it may get less exposure, and you need to also explain that. When you're explaining how the commissions work, and you explain that when an agent is going on taking their buyer to list or to go on the MLS, the chances of them going straight to the commission button and adjusting it to get the highest commission, that's just how it works. That's what agents are going out there and doing. And they're less likely to show a house where they're not getting a full commission. And so sometimes they can say, okay, well, you're right. Look at all the houses that were passed, and those are the ones that are not being able to get into escrow. So understanding these things about commission will help you justify what you're doing with your commission, why you need to charge what you're charging. Though if you can, definitely charge as much as you guys can so that you guys can earn the incomes that you guys are earning, but take into consideration what your clients are netting before you decide on what you want to list the commissions at. We are on a financial fix. So another objection that you might get is that they're saying that they can't. So maybe you see a client is netting over $100,000. You want to charge them your full 6% commission because you know that that's what you're worth. Now, they're trying to fight you because they say they're on a financial fix. So once again, going over how it can affect their home with the reduced of a commission. So by showing the seller the expired listings, you can explain that how reducing commissions will amount to less exposure. Now take a look at this. Okay, so what you can say is take a look at this printout of the expired versus those that went under contract. What patterns are you seeing in respect to the commission? In virtually all the areas of the bulk of the expired listings were at a lower commission. Now, it's easier to do it from the MLS versus it is to do it with printouts, but you can show clients in the MLS what the commissions are, and on the listings that are expired, you can always see that their listing commissions were always pretty low, and that's probably why they didn't get anybody to want to submit offers on that particular unit. So explaining that to clients kind of brings them back to reality is that, okay, well, no matter what way you look at it, you're basically paying for both commissions. And if you don't have an in pricing commission, or at least at value commission, which is something that you should say versus, trying to say that you're worth that, this is the value of a realtor. This is how much it costs to do business with a realtor, and they are protecting you financially. They're making sure they're negotiating the best deal possible. They're ensuring that you're not going to have any additional crazy disasters during your transaction. So yes, this is the value that you pay to have these realtors being in escrow with you. Now, you pay commissions only when you sell a property. When your listing doesn't sell, the amount of the commissions that you negotiated is irrelevant. When you say things like that, you're kind of tying it back in with, if we don't get the house listed, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't sell, then all of this stuff doesn't matter, right? Our goal is to get the house listed for comparative market price and to list it so that agents are wanting to show it to their clients and we can get it through an escrow as quickly as efficiently as possible. Okay, so I hope that that helps you guys a little bit with your guys' commissions. I know it's hard. I know that when you guys are out there, you guys get completely scared to have that conversation, and I get it. But you just have to know that you are of value. You are a real estate agent who knows what they're doing, and you are bringing them nothing but value. When you're going into that consultation, if you keep bringing it as hard as you can, they're going to want to do business with you. All right, so some things that we just got to make sure that they're understanding. So these are typically the closing costs that the buyers will pay on a transaction. Now, as we start to get a little bit down, you can see some of these escrow fees and title fees. These are typically split, and depending on how the offer is written up is basically how it's dictated. But for the seller, which I'm just going to glance through to the seller. So the seller commission, or the seller closing cost, is going to be depleting their commission. So it's important for them to understand these are included in there. And something I can suggest as well is that when you're going through a listing presentation and you know that you already have a gist of it value, you can download an app called Pacific Coast Agent 3.0. Actually, I think it's called Pacific Coast Agent 3.0. I don't know if they changed it. Let's see here. Okay, so it's Pacific Coast Agent 1 now. It's not 3.0 anymore. But this is a great tool. It is a subscription. You have to pay for it annually. I believe it's about $15 per year, but I can tell you it is worth every penny. Every penny. There's great calculators. But one of the great tools that it has that I suggest you use is the seller's net proceed sheet. So on top of the amazing things you can do on the app, you can co-brand it with your information. When you co-brand it with your information, you can do a seller's net sheet directly from your phone, and it will have a lot of these different things. Now, some things that might not take into consideration is if they own any judgments, if they have any tax liens against them, or any additional loans that you did not know about. So these need to be accounted for. When we went through that initial consultation, we asked what they owe on their home. Hopefully they identified any additional loans as well. Those deplete the net proceeds. But when we're doing this net sheet, it's great that we can do it right there in the consultation with them, and it will generate these based off of. Now, once you finally get the listing, it's better for you to reach out to your escrow officer and have them create the net sheet. That is going to be more hard, concrete, true numbers, because they're going to have payoff demands. They're going to have all the real fees. And so they're able to get us more concrete net proceeds. Something you should advise to your clients is these numbers are all soft numbers. We don't have true figures quite yet, but as we move along in each of the phases, we will get closer and closer to identifying the true net proceeds. So as we move along, I will let you know at each stage, this is the next update of sheet of fees. And this one is going to be a little bit more truer than the previous scenario that you've seen before. When you're letting them know things like that, you're not going to get a client that's like, every other day, this person's sending me new stuff. They keep changing their loan amounts. I have had so many clients in the past told me I stopped working with them because everything they told me kept changing. And so when you're saying things like this, you're preparing them. This is what our goal is. This is what we believe in this initial consultation. But as we move along in the phases, things are going to change, and we are going to have more true information as we get closer to the end. So every new estimate that you get will be more true and correct. And by the end of it, we will know what our true figures are. And if there is anything that is not planned, if there's stuff that comes up that doesn't get discussed, I cannot stress it enough for you to bite your tongue and call your client immediately. The good, the bad, the ugly, you must call them. You must advise this is what's going on, and you must include them and letting them know that you're problem solving whatever situation it is. Now, hopefully by the time you're doing your call, you've already thought of backup plans, right? Because we talked about how being a strong agent, you have to learn how to problem solve. If you're not a problem solver, you're never going to survive being a real estate agent. So doing things like that are great different ways of being able to get, your seller to know what's going to be expected from them. Okay. All right, handling objections. So these are just some things that might come up when you're talking with the client. And I know that there was a question previously, so I'm going to get to one of those questions again. But so here's a great one. Another agent offered to list my home for less. Okay. Now, when they're saying list the home for less, they're talking about those commissions. So I would say something like, unfortunately, I'm not able to reduce my commission. This is the standard I charge. I give all of my clients full service, and I give my full service as well. If you would like to hire me as your agent, I would love to sell your house. And I'm even adding in something like, I know that there's nobody who could do it better than I can. And I assure you, I will stop at nothing to make sure that we get this house listed for what it's worth and get you the biggest bang for your buck. You know, hearing things like that, even if I heard somebody talk to me, I'd be like, okay, they know what they're talking about. I feel it. All right. So, and then I would want to do business with them. Okay. Another suggestion you can do is there are a lot of agents out there who are willing to cut their commissions, and I don't advise going with a discounted agent. They're likely to have little involvement in the sale of your home and may not do very much marketing. Now, never discredit agents, right? Because once again, you never have to if you're doing your good job, and they are going to see that. It's going to shine through no matter what. So saying something like that, yes, you can say, but I would probably also, you know, just letting them know other agents do things differently. I know how I conduct business, and I leave nothing left unturned. So other ways of just being able to justify why you're the agent for the job. All right, another great one is that I really want to work with you, but can you give me a discount? Now, I understand that clients always want to find that extra penny. So if they can, or if you, so something you can say, it says, if your home sells in 2 weeks, then I don't mind adjusting my commission. But if your home takes longer than that, then I need to charge my standard rate. And that's just because the cost of marketing and all the work and effort that goes into the sale, right? That way you're getting a 2-week time limit. Hopefully you sell the house in 2 weeks, which is great. You're able to get that thing into escrow. But if not, you know, it's got a 2-week deadline. Realistically, we want to have houses sell in 2 weeks. And right now in this climate, we probably can. But if it doesn't, then you're already setting yourself up to be able to still earn your true commission because cost of business. Or an alternative is, yes, sure, I can definitely reduce my commission if I bring my own buyer. And the good news is I have a large sphere of influence that I connect with all the time. And I would love to share your property with them to see if I'm able to find one of my personal clients to come and buy your home. And I would absolutely give you a discount if I was able to do so. And that way they're like, okay, she knows about more people. She's going to talk to other people about my house. And this is why I want to do business with this person. All right, we are meeting a few agents, and we will make our decision. So I heard this question earlier today, and I know that it's hard because you may be competing against other agents, but once again, you just want to identify what they're looking for so that you can tell them why you're the best person for the job. So saying something like, I understand, what are you specifically looking for in an agent, right? Pausing, giving them an opportunity to voice their voice. What are they looking for? Do they want an agent that has total dedication? Do they want an agent who is going to list their house for more, right? Because maybe they tell you, you're not listing my house for enough, so I want to talk to another agent, right? And that just means that you didn't give them enough value. So you got to circle back, right? So we're going back into that comparative market analysis because we really need to figure out why we weren't on the same page so that I can knock us in on being on the same page and being able to finally get that listing. Or it sounds like you want to work with an agent that doesn't have your best interest in mind. Do you, or sorry, would you describe the right agent for you? So when you're saying that, once again, you're giving them an opportunity to voice what they are looking for in an agent so that you can go back in and tell them why you're the best agent for the job. Now, hopefully you did an amazing job. You crushed every single thing in your marketing talk and what your goals were. You identified what they were trying to do. You went through the market analysis, talked about figures, and everything made sense to them and they want to do business with you. All right, we just found out the price of our home. Oh, sorry, we just wanted to find out the price of our home. We will let you know if we decide to list. So in these situations, man, you went through all of that. Now, you want to ask them once again, how they're feeling about the home price, because they're going to tell you if it's not what they were hoping it for. So something like, it sounds like you have, or like you want to get the best price possible for your home. What range are you hoping to get? Wait for them to say what they want. Then we can always put the home on the market, or we can always put the home on the market. And if we don't get asking, then I suggest we take it off. Then when they are, then you're going to say, do you sound like, or do you like the sound of that strategy? Now, really what we're trying to do here is getting them to taste a little bit of what it feels like on the market. Now, if it sells, great, fantastic. You got it sold for higher than what you believed it was worth. But if not, say you put a time limit on for 2 weeks, right? Maybe they believe their house is worth $550, though you believe it's worth $520. So you can say, what we can do is try it. We can try it out for 2 weeks. We put the house listed at $550. Now, I have to say, I don't believe that we're going to get any action on it. But if we do, and by chance, then fantastic, great. But if we don't, then one thing I have to suggest is us doing a reduction down to the price that I believe the home, or that we believe, or that we've seen the home was worth, right? Because, right, once again, we're trying to not tell them what the home was worth, but more collectively working to figure it out together. So what we believed the home was worth when we did our comparative market analysis was more of a true figure, and I believe this is where we'll be at. But if we can get there, I know that we'll have action on the house. So I suggest that if we don't get what we're getting in 2 weeks, that we do that reduction. How do you feel about that? Hearing once again how they're feeling, how they are perceiving what you are seeing, and just really trying to get to the same page. All right, another agent told us that we could get more for our home. So this is just once again re-talking about the dangers of and the pitfalls of overpricing. So these comparables show what the market is willing to pay for your home right now. And at the end of the day, we are going to list it a price for whatever you want. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you we were listed too high. We'll be placing your home in the lower end of a higher price range. On that higher price range, buyers will be comparing your home to others with more amenities and features, right? If they understand that part, usually really easy for them to be able to make that educated decision on, yeah, that doesn't sound good. You'll also miss out on traffic from buyers that are searching for homes on that price range, but that market says that their home is, for what that market is saying the home is worth, right? Because there may be buyers that can buy that house, but because it was priced too high, they're not even going to be able to see it. They're not going to be able to see it because when they go in the search engine and they're typing in what the max is for their budget, it doesn't meet that criteria. And so for that reason, they don't get to see that house, which means less likely for them to want to submit an offer. All right, guys, that is the end of our winning a listing presentation class. I hope that you guys found all of this information informative and resourceful. I know I'm a little bit over, so if you guys need to get going, I completely understand. Here is my contact information. I love to help agents all the time. I have a marketing email that I send out once per week with new marketing materials for agents so that you guys can continue growing your business and prospect to new clients. If you guys would like to get added to that, please send me an email to opt in. I just want to thank you guys. I hope that you guys can grow your business with everything that you guys have learned. I know you guys are working out there, crushing it with these listings, so keep going. We need to get these buyers in ASAP. All right, I know I see some questions popping up into the chat box. Let's see if I can answer some. Oh, well, it was so nice to see you, Percy. Thank you for coming. Thank you, May. Thank you, Medelia. Thank you, Linda. I have a question from Helen. Do you think that having a green rating affects a buyer's perspective or the scheme of things? Does it matter? What is a realistic time frame for a normal escrow these days? Okay, so green rating affects a buyer's perspective. I mean, yes, it could, but really, you know, Helen, can you go over a little bit of what you mean by green rating? Because I think green rating is, you know, the how efficient the house is, but your green rating may be different than my idea of green rating. Also, a realistic time frame right now for escrow, We can still do a purchase escrow in 30 days for transactions that a normal transaction, a standard FHA down payment assistance, or not down payment assistance, a standard conventional. We have a 14-day business close so that we're able to get them through super lightning speed. But I'd say an average is a 30-day escrow. With a DPA, we may need up to 45 days depending on the program and the specifics on how to get approvals. But I'd probably say you're still in the ranges of being able to get it done in a 30-day transaction. Awesome. It was so nice to have you, Gil. Thank you so much. Yes, it is recorded and you should be able to get it. Thank you, Heather, for coming in. I appreciate you.
All right. I think that's all the questions in the chat.
Perfect.
Yes, this is recorded. You can go back and listen to the replay or watch the replay. It'll be posted on cvar.live, cvar.live. And then one more time, I'll put my email in the chat. And then if you want a copy of the presentation from today, the slides that Amanda was sharing, go ahead and just send an email to me, Nancy Oakley. It's noakley@cvar.net. And I will go ahead and send the copy of the slides to you. Amanda is a great resource to the association and to agents as well. So do use her if you need her. Her contact information is on the screen. Other than that, just make sure for a copy of the slides, send me an email, noakley@cvar.net. With that, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. The replay will be posted next week on cvar.live. And please check out cvarconnect.com for our upcoming classes. Amanda, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to everyone who attended. We will see you all later and have a great day.
Thanks.